Okay, so I haven't... Okay. This is a nightmare I may not be ready to live through.
I started getting crushes on boys.
Real embarrassed about this.
My mouth gets the best of me pretty much all the time.
Okay, I'm just like, how do... Okay. All right.
There we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to We Still Like You, the show where people tell their most embarrassing or shameful story for a shot at redemption. I'm Jesse Batend. Chances are over the past few weeks, you've been talking a lot about school. Now, whether your school's overfunded, underfunded, besieged by grizzly bears, no matter who is in charge, there's one thing that isn't going to change. And that's that students are horrible little monsters. I have some examples. First up, from Chicago, Derek Smith tells this story about the 2 worst zingers he's ever used on his teachers.
I love doing comedy. I always wanted to be funny, and my friends are really good with zingers. They hit you hard and fast all the time, and usually it ended up with me just looking really, really dumb. I'm not good at it. I punched a lot of them in the face as hard as I can because they're so good at it. So I always wanted to be really, really good at zingers. And I don't think I did it right, okay? And so we're gonna go down my top zingers of my grade school teachers. All right, number 2, my 7th grade teacher, Mrs. Hudman. She initiated a program at my school where recovered drug addicts and alcoholics and things would come in and talk to us and tell us about their trials. And the first person she brought in was a guy named Bob. He was about 6'4", had a very barrel chest and very skinny arms and legs and huge block hands. And he liked to pick up the chalk and he would just kind of shake it in his hand like this while he was talking to us. So he's just doing this all the time. He was like, yep, I used to be addicted to pain medication and alcoholic, and I beat my kids and I beat my wife, and it was really hard for him to get through all of that. I went home and my mom said, what did you do at school today? I said, I don't know. My teacher brought in some guy, child beater Bob, and to talk to us today. She kind of responded like that, and I was like, well, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do this one again. So I said it to my friends at school who have no self-control, and that guy kept coming back, and one day my friend raised his hand and said, is child beater Bob coming to school today? And my teacher goes, she stood up from the desk like, oh, who said that? And then he goes, Derek made it up. And I was like, you asshole, why are you telling on me right now? I told you that in confidence. She begins violently crying and screaming at me, and now I become very aware that she knew this guy before he went into the program, and she told me, I think the quote was, he is more of a man than you will ever be. All right, time for the one I don't want to talk about. This one, real upset with myself. All right. Okay, it was 6th grade. My teacher was Miss Stefanik. She had just come back to our school because she had cancer. And she had fought through that and came back, and now she was teaching again, and she was kind of stern as a person. And all right, here's what happened. We were standing in a hallway one day. It was about December, early part of December. We were standing in this long hallway waiting to go into a music class, which is basically, I think somebody just turned on a movie and they're like, here's a musical. You guys got it. Music class, done. We were waiting, and I was just standing in the hallway looking at the wall. I mean, being the best student you could possibly want. I was just staring at the wall in line, not making a noise, doing nothing at all. And then Miss Stefanik comes around, and she goes, "Derek, what is wrong with you? Can't you listen to anything I'm saying? You're so stupid you can't stay in line and keep quiet for 5 minutes. I mean, this is just irresponsible," and just starts going off on me, and everybody is watching, and I am just like, I'm just a puppy, and I'm just like, and I start getting really, really emotional, and I'm about to start crying, and then when she turns and she just kind of like fucking hate comes on my face, and then like, and then she turns to walk away all shitty. I, in kind of a crying voice, said out loud, "I hope you get cancer again." And die. Okay. She heard it. She stopped walking. Everybody else heard it. And I know they all heard it because they all just fucking got in line real fast. Just like, whoa, I'm not a part of this at all. So we went on Christmas break. And when we came back from Christmas break, guess who didn't come back to school? It was Miss Stefanik. Miss Stefanik did not come back to school because she got cancer again. And then, I'm not exactly sure when, she died. And I didn't go to her funeral because everybody kept saying, "You killed her. You killed her. She died because you said it."
Awesome, Derek Smith.
Comedian Derek Smith. Coming up next, Robert Segovia almost brings Andrew Jackson to tears. So teachers have it rough. Nothing brings a class together like ganging up on the teacher, right? But what happens when a teacher pits the students against each other? Robert Segovia tells this story about his first experience with school politics.
So I wouldn't say that I had a crush on Rachel because everyone in the 8th grade had a crush on Rachel. Rachel was the kind of girl that was so beautiful that it was blinding, and she was also really, really, really smart. You know when you take that test that you take that's like, what are you going to do with your life? And they're like, that guy's a plumber. This guy's a mechanic. You could be an engineer. The test taker literally said to Rachel, "You can do anything." So that's your protagonist in this story. And just remember that. A little bit about me, I'm strange. I was dyslexic when I was a kid. I couldn't read at the right level. So I learned a lot about presidents. I knew all the presidents, which made me the coolest kid in school. Just amazingly cool. So, I knew vice presidents, I knew first ladies, I was doing it. So let's flash forward to 8th grade. I'm in a history class. There is a TA that's going to be important later. We decide, because it's a pre-9/11 world, that we are going to have an election debate between John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson. The great election of 1828. Boom! So all 4 of these history classes had this. It was usually the top 2 students, with one exception. Rachel was definitely the top student in this class. And then there was another guy in the back answering all the questions, because he weirdly knew everything about the 1828 election to an absurd degree. Hey, you know a lot about Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I know a lot about Andrew Jackson versus John Quincy Adams. So, Andrew Jackson, war hero, beautiful person, very tall. Everybody loved him. I know history hasn't judged him that well, but at the time, people were like, yes. John Quincy Adams, squat fella, kind of balding, ahead of his time on slavery, but kind of an asshole. This is exactly how Rachel and I were in this school. So Rachel, top student, gets Andrew Jackson. She's going to play the part of Andrew Jackson in this thing. And the TA likes me. She's like, that guy's smart. He answers all the questions. He's real weird, and his clothes are not disheveled, but he seems like he could do this. So I get the part of John Quincy Adams. So in these other classes, if we flash forward a little bit, every time the popular kid won. Like every time. Like if you went back, you'd be like, oh, the popular kid, the popular kid, the popular kid. The way this thing works is there are my supporters. There's like 6 people in the class that are designated to be my supporters because we're doing like government. I don't know what we're doing. Pre-9/11 world, guys. On the other side, we've got her supporters, Andrew Jackson. And then in the middle, we got the undecided. We got to figure out, we got to make these people decide one way or another. I'm a freak show, so I am going to play hardball. And it just so happens that Andrew Jackson had a wife named Rachel. Rachel got married to Andrew Jackson before she was divorced. Scandal. So I am just attacking Rachel. Not Rachel the one next to me, but Rachel, historical Rachel. I'm like, Rachel has loose morals. I mean, do you really think that Rachel could be the first lady? I mean, what's even going on with Rachel? She seems to be awful. So I'm doing this. And Rachel is just, you know, she's just trying to go like, but I'm competent. You know, I can do the job. She's trying to do a Hillary Clinton. And I am Donald Trumping the fuck out of her. And then the killer was, we're going back and forth. I'm doing my Rachel stuff. I'm like, Rachel, 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 Rachel. And then at the very end, Andrew Jackson fought in the Battle of New Orleans. He became a war hero because he fought in the Battle of New Orleans. Only problem, the war was already over when he fought in the Battle of New Orleans. So that was my, like, I was like, you didn't fight that battle, that was it, the war was done, you're stupid. And then Rachel, sweetest, beautifulest, smartest girl in school, looks at me and goes, Robert. Like that. She just goes, Robert. What she's saying, I'll translate for you. You are a monster. You care nothing about anyone else and you just want to win. You have gone from goofy guy in the back who answers all the president question to horrible monster person. So we have the election, we have the vote. It's a very close vote. At the end, I remember these 2 girls, Carly and Desiree. They're in the back. They have the deciding vote. They are the swing vote. They are Ohio in this situation. And they are like, Rachel, you're the greatest. You are so amazing, Rachel. You're so smart. You can do anything, Rachel. But Robert's got you. He's got you, man. He's got you. And so they voted for me. So I won 18-16. Which is fine in fantasy world of that class. I was just an asshole for the rest of school. So that's my story. Thank you.
Comedian Robert Segovia. Coming up next, Erin Diamond will do anything to star in her high school play. Welcome back to We Still Like You. Every year, in high schools across the country, students dress up as made-up murderers invented by a guy named William Shakespeare. Our last story for today comes to you from storyteller Erin Diamond and begs the question of whether Shakespeare is actually such an appropriate role model for 14-year-olds. From Chicago, here's Erin Diamond.
So this story is actually forbidden. My father forbade me from telling it as he and my mother drove me home from the adolescent psychiatric unit at Northwest Community Hospital. He met my eyes in the rearview mirror and he said, "You can never share this with anyone. People will shun you for this." And I wanted to argue with him because I knew plenty of kids at my high school who had problems. Plus, I was a member of the Gay Straight Alliance, and other alliance members were contractually obligated not to shun me. But I kept my mouth shut because in just a few hours, I was going to take the stage in a small speaking role in my high school's production of Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. And more importantly, I was going to recite a post-intermission sonnet, which at my high school was a fucking huge deal for a freshman. Huge deal. This all started with a question that was answered with a lie and followed by a threat. My father shook his hand in my face and said, "I'm going to ask you one more time, kid. Were there parents at that party?" And the party in question was at Jason's house. Jason was a junior. He drove a blue Mustang convertible. Played football. And this party was practically straight edge. It consisted of all the guys on one side playing cards and watching ESPN. Maybe they were drinking beer, I don't recall. And all of us girls were huddled into a corner, learning the choreography for NSYNC's Bye 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 music video. So cool. I didn't do anything wrong, but I knew that that wouldn't matter. So I lied. And I said, "Yeah, Dad, his parents were home." And my dad knew that wasn't true, and so he just seethed at me. He was so scary. He was like, "You are a rotten, shameless liar, kid. And these junior, senior boys hanging out with 14-year-old girls, they're a bunch of perverts. And you know what? Guess what, kid? I'm calling their parents and I'm going to tell them they have sex offenders for sons. How do you like that? Mary, get me the high school phone book." And my mom got it for him. And he started just paging through the phone book. And this is the start of freshman year, so I'm 14. And so in the way only a 14-year-old girl can do, I'm like, "You're gonna ruin my life!" And I just take off to my room and I slam the door and I'm so hysterical, like jumping out of my body. I'm so upset because of all of the embarrassments that I've suffered in my life because of my dad's explosive overreactions. This is the worst. I don't know how I'm gonna face my friends. I don't know how I'm gonna face those guys. I'm freaking out. I can't do it. I'd rather die. And that was it. I would rather die. And as soon as my parents realize this, that I would rather die, they'll stop what they're doing and they'll beg me to live. it made so much sense to me at the time. And so the razor I took from the bathroom was your classic Bic, that orange razor, single blade. Brought it back into my room, and I gripped it firmly in my hand, and I held out my forearm, and I slashed into my arm with all of my strength. And the pain was white hot and electric. So you can only imagine my surprise when I looked down to see a perfectly straight, swollen scratch that didn't bleed so bad and looked like it was like a one-toed cat had like just scratched. So I needed a plan B and quick. Because old Erin Diamond was downstairs, phoning people up. So the bottle of Midol that I took out of the medicine cabinet had been in there for so long and had like 6 Midol pills left. Like this is at the end of its road. 6 pills left, tops. Now I could have flushed those pills and claimed to have taken the entire bottle, and no one would know, right? But because I was 14 and a fucking idiot, I swallowed all the pills. And as soon as I swallowed them, I immediately felt my heart start to pound really fast because I was panicked. And I immediately believed myself to now be experiencing an overdose, a drug overdose. After swallowing the pills, which at the time, I'm in a Shakespeare play, this is very Shakespearean, the irony of wanting it to look as though you wanted to die and now to be dying of a drug overdose. So I burst downstairs, I ran down the staircase, I burst in on my parents and announced to them that I had overdosed on Midol and was having a heart attack. And my dad said one thing as he got his coat and got his keys, and he just went, "God damn it, kid!" This is a good point just to give everyone a warning. No one at the Northwest Community Hospital believes you when you say that you only took 6 Midol. Especially after they separate you from your parents and they do a physical exam and you have this perfectly straight scratch down your arm. You tell them it was made by your cat. They go out and interrogate your parents, and your parents are like, "We don't have any pets, we don't have a cat." So at this point, I was being treated for a full-blown overdose. So they came into the room. It was like I was in a screened off room. They brought my parents in and they gave me a cup of liquid activated charcoal, which looks like black finger paint. It's thick black finger paint that is sickeningly sweet. I took one sip of it and like a 14-year-old girl, I just went, "I can't do this! I only took 6 Midol! I can't!" And my dad just lost it and was like, "How do we know you only took 6 Midol? You lied about the party. You lied about the cat. Erin, you're a liar." And at that point, the emergency room staff are like, "Hell no, you guys gotta leave." They kicked my parents out. And then with no explanation, 2 very calm nurses entered the room. They had a bag of the charcoal, they had a long tube, and with no instructions or anything, one didn't hold me down, just kind of gently held my chest like this, and the other one stuck the tube up my nose and down my throat, which is, I'll never forget the feeling, it's so uncomfortable, but not as uncomfortable as the conversation these 2 had over my head, like it didn't exist, that went something like this. "Diane, I don't know what I'm gonna do about this traveling hockey team. Brent loves it, but I'm in the car constantly. Sheila, it is so expensive." Meanwhile, unbeknownst to me, my parents are meeting with a hospital social worker who explains to them that I am exhibiting suicide ideation, that I've made 2 self-harm gestures, and that it is a good idea for them to relinquish temporary custody of me to the adolescent psychiatric unit, which my parents do. And I am led away drugged out of my mind, hunched over in a wheelchair, and that is all I remember until I wake up the next day. And of course, y'all, I got my period. That's the last deal. So I bled myself, I bled the bed, and now this nurse is like, oh yeah, well you can go take a shower. And so she leads me to the showers, and there's a CNA that her job is to work as the shower monitor. And so when you get in the shower, you have to like show signs of life while you're in the shower. So you can either sing or you can count. Now, I'm a big time shower singer, Miss Saigon, almost every night before I got here. But I was like, I'm counting. So you just like wash yourself and you count the whole time so they didn't know you didn't strangle yourself. After I got out of the shower, I was given a hospital gown for the front, hospital gown for the back, and then you're not allowed to use tampons or pads, so they give you these paper underwear that just have like, kind of like, someone took a bunch of cotton balls and like put them together, so you couldn't even like weave them to strangle yourself, basically. At this point, I'm informed by a staff member that although I am missing school indefinitely, I am still required to fill my Illinois physical education requirement. So I have two options. I can either do Taibo in the day room or step aerobics. Step aerobics are normally my jam, but I was not myself. So I went to Taibo with the other patients. Now, I went on to work in mental health. I know a lot about what a psychiatric unit in a hospital is like for adults. This unit for adolescents is the only one I know, and in this case, it was jail for kids. I don't remember anyone exhibiting any signs of severe mental illness, only like beating up their grandmothers, stealing their mom's car. There was one kid that had already 14, tattooed his face. He had all these tattoos on his face. He was so nice though. So nice to me. So there's all these kids, and then there's me, the one who's going, I don't belong here. This is all misunderstanding. I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I don't belong here. This is all a mistake. And you know what? It's really important if I could be out of here by Thursday because I have a small speaking role in my high school's production of Shakespeare's About Nothing, but more importantly, I'm doing this like post-intermission sonnet, which you don't understand. But at my high school, it's like a big deal for a freshman. And after I say this for like the 5th time during group therapy, all the kids with the fucking beaten up family members and the face tattoo look at me like I'm the craziest motherfucker in the place. My parents had to hire lawyers. They spent thousands of dollars in 1 week to bust me out of this situation, which I think they got themselves into as well. I don't blame them completely, but yes. And so I did get out by Thursday, and my mother, in an act of sainthood, which I will love her for to this day, she brought me my costume to the hospital waiting room. So in the waiting room of Northwest Community Hospital, like the actual normal waiting room, I went in like one of the big handicap stall bathrooms and changed into my costume and left in a 17th century gown and showed up just in time for my call. Just in time. And after the first act was over and it was after it was intermission, I like got my place behind those like heavy velvet curtains from the 70s that all the high schools have, and I was just like standing there, couldn't believe where I was earlier in the day and now where I was, and then couldn't believe how much I had fucked up and how it was going to be so long before I would be trusted to shave my legs unsupervised, cut my own pork chop, be trusted to watch the Real World Road Rules Challenge alone in the basement. My dad would come downstairs and be like, I don't think you should be alone. To forgive my parents and to forgive myself. Because I was just a kid and I made a mistake. But when the curtains opened, all of that melted away, and the only thing that mattered was that stage, that spotlight, that sonnet. Shakespeare has never tasted so good. It was a huge deal for a freshman. Thank you. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with its brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved.
Nerd!
And that does it for this episode of We Still Like You. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, do us a favor, share it with your friends. Maybe reach out to one of your old teachers and share it with them. If you have a story that you want to tell at We Still Like You, send us an email. WeStillLikeYou@gmail.com is how you can reach us, and we'll get in touch about how you can do the show. Until next time, I'm Jesse Batend. Thanks for listening.
I'm glad my stepbrother is here because he's going to hear a different version of his stepdad tonight.
We Still Like You is produced by Dan Sheehan, Danny Gallegos, Tyler Snodgrass, Shannon Null, and J. Michael Osborne, who is also our resident live artist. In Los Angeles, it is produced by Andy Sell.
The podcast is produced by Jesse Batend, engineered by Jesse Batend and Sam Haas. Our theme song is Specific People by Jake Tobin. Big thanks to all the people who've housed our live shows at various undisclosed locations around Chicago, and to you, the listener, for being there.
If you'd like to know more about where you can watch We Still Like You or submit to be on We Still Like You, please check out our website, which is westilllikeyou.com, and also you can find us on Facebook.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.